Good morning. It's good to see you today. Hope you've been doing well the past few days. I think one of the hardest things for us to do is to love our enemies, to do good unto them, to pray for them. As the Lord talks about in the Sermon on the Mount, the Lord leads by example. I think the ultimate example, perhaps, of loving our enemies and serving them is in how the Lord treated Judas. In John chapter 13, you might notice at verse 11, this is John chapter 13 verse 11, it says, "For he knew who would betray him, and yet he still washes all the disciples' feet." And if he washed the disciples' feet, Judas hasn't left yet, he washed Judas's feet. And that's the thing. Let's think about how the Lord treats Judas. And of course, the first point we've already made, he served him. He served even Judas. And if Jesus could serve Judas, then we can serve one another. We can serve one another even when we disagree with one another. Even when there are serious problems, we can still serve one another. The Lord showed us how, and the Lord expects us to follow suit. The Lord was respectful. There was no reviling accusation that came out of the Lord's mouth. There was no viciousness. He was not going to answer evil with evil. Remember when Judas comes to him in the garden, you remember the first word out of Jesus' mouth, he says, "Friend." "Friend, why have you come?" he says. He was respectful even to Judas. He set the example. As a third point, he set the example, and while the example was not going to really benefit Judas, he set the example for all of the others to see. Remember what he says. At verse 14 he says, "If I then, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet." He set the example for the others to look back on and to remember how he had treated all of them. He served while other people, understand that Judas, things were already in motion. Okay, so what did the Lord do? He served while other people were plotting wickedness. And just think about how hard that must have been. But that's what the Lord did, and that's what we can do as well. We can serve and do good, even to those people who are perhaps plotting wickedness. The Lord, what the Lord had, he had a dignity and he had integrity. Even in verse 21, as it says, when Jesus had said these things, he was troubled in spirit. Even as he was troubled in spirit, he conducted himself with dignity and integrity. He says in the garden, "My soul is exceedingly sorrowful, even unto death." But still, there was a dignity about how he carried himself and how he treated even his enemies. Hope you enjoyed this study. God bless you.